Welcome everyone. This is Django Fett here, and we're back with another Book of Boba Fett discussion on Chapter 5, Episode 5, and this is called Return of the Mandalorian. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen. But this one is directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. She is the daughter of Ron Howard, and she's back to do another episode. She did a couple episodes in The Mandalorian, and she's back to do an episode of Book of Boba Fett. So, with that being said, with me as always, we have,
General CJG here, as always.
and we don't have Henson with us, so we have a brand new guest with us. Please kindly introduce yourself.
Hello there, everybody. This is CJ Rawl, also CJR-95 at the current moment. I'm currently going through a name change on YouTube. Yeah, you might probably recognize me from a couple episodes of the Bad Batch podcasts, but I'm here today for this episode of Book of Boba Fett and probably more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So, since you're a brand new guest with us, and he's been a part of, if you guys haven't noticed as well, Mandalorian season 2. So we also had that.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
right.
we were also a part of that too. So it's good
Mhm.
to have you back with us.
Yeah,
And since you're new here, kindly tell us like what you think of Book of Boba Fett so far.
I'm personally really liking it, honestly. Like first episode, I wasn't sure how it was gonna go and stuff, and turns out it's kind of a mix between in the first few episodes. Well, with the first few episodes, it's this way, but it was like a mix between flashbacks and present day, which was pretty cool. It could have been done a tad bit better, but I'm not complaining too much about that. I think it's like all right. I think it was like done actually pretty decent, if not to be done just a bit better. I've been really liking these episodes. A few minor criticisms here and there, but overall, the good outweighs the bad when it comes to this show. And this episode was a surprise.
So let's just get right into this, and then we will give our thoughts of this episode as we go along. This one starts much different. It doesn't start at Boba's pod for once, but at a butchery with none other than the
Din Djarin.
Mandalorian appearing.
Yep, Din Djarin.
He's
Yeah, I mean,
back.
it's titled Return of the Mandalorian, so of
Yep.
course he appears. Mando comes to this butchery and he's here to see someone named Koba Bais. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but he owes someone money, and Mando's here to get him. And the tracker leads him straight to him. And Mando tells the rest of his guards to leave, but of course they don't, and they attack him. And he fights back in a really cool fight, and he's now using the dark saber as he slices the boss on the table, and you don't see it, but he also gets this head, and then he leaves from there. But overall, I really enjoyed this fight, and I want to get your guys' thoughts of it too.
Was an awesome fight. Though I did
Yeah.
notice that Mando definitely needed plenty of training with the dark saber. He had some trouble with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's kind of nice to see that too, because he's not used to using like a weapon like a lightsaber at all, except for maybe like a tiny bit in ending of season two. But that's not really saying much because here he's doing major combat with this thing, and he's like now seeing like the consequences of what could happen if he's not careful with a lightsaber.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Because in the end, in that during that fight, he actually gets wounded on his leg, and so after that fight, he's limping, and he gets this really bad cut on his leg. Later on, he goes to this halo ring of sorts.
Yeah.
I know.
Can I mention
I
how
think it reminded me.
that literally, like when I first saw that shot, I was like, wait, this is Halo? Like, are they taking up? And then I see that literally like sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, they're probably taking a page from Halo.
Yes,
Honestly, that thing reminded me of a mix between the Halo ring and the Montrosor spaceport from Treasure Planet. If anyone remembers that.
yeah, I was thinking of the Citadel as well from Mass Effect.
Oh yeah, the Citadel.
Not familiar with Mass
Yeah,
Effect, so I cannot say. But yeah, I just checked, and apparently, yeah, this Ring World is completely new to Disney Star Wars. This is the first time we ever see it. So yeah, I can totally tell. Yeah, it's right from Halo.
yeah, I love the design overall, but hopefully
Yeah,
we
it's an
see more of
interesting
this.
design.
That's
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
sad. Oh
And is
yeah.
bringing the head for the bounty. And he wants credits and info. And later on, this crime boss gives him that. He goes to an alley and sees a Mandalorian symbol above a door. And we see another familiar figure, the armorer. And the armorer tells him that there's only three Mandalorians left, including Mando. And he ends up giving the Darksaber to the armorer for inspection. And she gives a little backstory on to the Darksaber itself. So the Darksaber was made by Tar Vizsla, a Mandalorian and Jedi 1,000 years ago. And it's interesting to see that there was a Mandalorian and Jedi who ended up making this saber in the first place. But I love the backstory of all this. What did you guys think of this?
Well, I thought it was really cool hearing about Tar Vizsla again. Last time I heard about him was in an episode of Star Wars Rebels, which was pretty cool to learn about and stuff. Especially since it was talking about like the backstory of the dark side of the dark saber and stuff. So that was really neat to learn about because we never really got that much history about the dark saber. Not even and only just briefly in like season 2 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and that was pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
And Rebels kind of just gave it a more fuller, in-depth backstory about its origins, and we learned that it was owned by the first Mandalorian Jedi, Tar Vizsla.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Star Wars Rebels,
Oh,
so
cool.
you took that one from me.
Sorry about
So
that, General.
there's that. But yeah, so yeah, the dark saber basically has history with Mandalorians. As far as I know, Mandalorians also being Jedi is definitely Disney Star Wars thing because I do not remember that happening in the EU and Legends. So I
There is one in the Republic Commando.
oh really? That is both a Mandalorian
Well,
and a Jedi.
A Jedi who eventually became a Mandalorian. It's
Mm,
not like both though.
mm.
That's never happened though.
Yeah, I meant both because apparently, if
Oh
you
yeah.
check, if you check like Tar Bislan, his locks and everything, he apparently has both Mandalorian armor and wielding a lightsaber. So he was both at the same time.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's definitely news to me. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. The backstory was definitely interesting to see and everything. So yeah, I liked it.
And there's even more interesting stuff that they mention as well. So Mando's there to help rebuild, and they start talking with him and the armorer. And the armorer doesn't like the idea of there's a spear that Mando has. She doesn't like the idea that Beskar is used to create weaponry and is meant for only armor because if you have a Beskar spear, it's going to pierce that armor anyway, and it's going to make it useless, that whole armor. Spear defeats the purpose of the armor. Mando wants the spear to be forged into armor. Then they have this conversation where the armorer then tells of Bo-Katan, who wanted to rule Mandalore based by blood and not by creed. So born into ruling, which is un-Mandalorian like, and eventually Bo-Katan helped to lose Mandalore, the planet, in the end.
It shows that Mandalorians aren't just about like a nuclear family bloodline, and it just shows of what Mandalorians always were, and that was that they're just made up of many different individuals, and they're made, and that's how their clans are made is from just people that they bring in and stuff, with
Mhm,
hence the foundlings and stuff,
mhm.
So in other words, that also brings in the Mandalorian proverb of Alit Orisha Taldin, which means family is more than blood. Is that family is more than just about being blood related. It's more just like you're all in one family. It don't matter who you are, what you are, and stuff. And that's what Mandalorians are and were. And
Mhm.
while with Bo-Katan, Bo-Katan wanted to be more about like nuclear family bloodlines, hence like families like Clan Kreese being just the entire Kreese family and etc. etc.
It definitely isn't surprising to me that Bo-Katan will be mentioned here, given who's directing this episode, Bryce Dallas Howard. You remember she also directed the episodes that pretty much featured Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian.
Hmm.
That's right.
Hmm So yeah, this definitely is not a surprise to me, and it's definitely great to see that interesting connection. It does make me wonder if when we'll see Bo-Katan again, maybe in Mandalorian season 3. We'll see. So
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she showed up in season 3.
There is a flashback that appears, and the planet of Mandalore is then bombarded by Imperials. Huge number of Imperials. And they just destroy the entire planet. And they coined the term Night of a Thousand Tears because of all the bombs and the Imperials coming in and just wiping them out almost. And so this is why Mandalorians are refugees from this point on, fleeing from Mandalore because of that destruction. Just a really cool scene overall.
It's nice that they finally brought this scene up. That they like finally show us like this event that happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
that, because they mentioned that in the first season, and then it was never really that much brought up again. And now we kind of just got to see what that actually was like, and that was pretty cool.
Then we have mention of Mando wanting the spear forged into armor. And he wants the armor forged for a certain person that he is bonded with for quite some time before he had to let him go, and that is Grogu. Grogu's storyline is going to come back with season 3. That's most certainly going to happen with season 3. So instead of moving on, he continues and continuing his path. We have to go back to the Grogu stuff. So the armor is going to be forged for Grogu. Then Mando practices against the armor in this duel, and he struggles to wield the dark saber. Then the other Mando comes and he challenges Mando himself to a duel, who is the ancestor of Vizsla, and challenges Mando to a duel for the Darksaber ownership. Very messy fight because the Darksaber is just so unwieldy. One of the things that the armorer mentioned is that when you're wielding the Darksaber, don't fight it. I think it's like you don't fight it because otherwise it'll fight you back. Learn to maintain control while using the Darksaber. It's very difficult for anyone to use. I mean, especially the big guy who had a really hard time as well. But Mando does win in the end.
can I mention that I find it interesting that the saber seems like it has a mind of its own. It reminds me of Anakin's lightsaber in The Force Awakens, if you remember that. I don't know if it's meant to be something like that, but different for the dark saber, or if it's just the dark saber is unique. I don't know. Like I just thought the lightsaber was just a lightsaber, and the only reason you cannot really be able to wield it or properly use it is because you need proper training on using it. So I don't know what's going on here.
I've seen this like happen before in Star Wars Rebels season 3. What during the scene where in a scene in an episode where Kanan Jarrus is training Sabine Wren how to wield a lightsaber. In this case, in this case the dark saber, where she becomes the temporary wielder of the dark saber, and he mentions about how you have to connect with it because the blade feels heavy to her and stuff, and which is interesting because considering the fact that she is a non-force user, it's got like a it feels different to her because she's not force sensitive compared to Kanan. So it's interesting seeing seeing non-force users, excluding Grievous since he's a cyborg and it probably weighs nothing to him. So it's interesting seeing like a non-force again seeing a non-force user use a lightsaber and having a different effect compared to someone who's force sensitive.
Now, right after this, even though Mando wins, this is an odd thing that happened. And the armorer comes in and questions whether they removed their helmets. This just came out of nowhere. And the big guy says no, and Mando has to say yes. And armorer says you're Mandalorian no more. I find personally is stupid and excessive, even by Mandalorian standards.
Hmm.
So he is forced to go to the waters of Mandalore, and Mandalore, if you guys don't know already by this point, is just destroyed. He has to go to the waters of Mandalore to redeem himself. I'm not sure what he has to do. I'm sure a ritual of some kind.
I
Um,
guess.
yeah, so he has to go back there, do some type of ritual, and I guess once he goes back to the Mandalorians, He'll be like, okay, I did this. Can I come back now? Like, so he's exiled at this point.
Yeah, this was definitely a Children of the Watch kind of thing that happened here because they're very because from what we've learned they're like very strict with their rules, almost even like very old Mandalorian ways, like old Republic Mandalorian ways in a sense.
So the jungle, why do you why do you say this is excessive?
Well, I mean, like, even if you take your helmet off, I mean, just one time, like, I mean, to that one part with Grogu, like, is that really excessive? I know he like took off his helmet during like when he slept and stuff, and but it's like, is that breaking the rule as well? I wouldn't think
I
so.
think I think it's all right if it's in privacy. It's really about like showing your face to another person. I think that's really how it goes down.
Because he's shown his face to the droid and then Grogu. Is that so? Does that mean that then he's now no longer Mandalorian? Even like I find interesting because Jango Fett was supposed to be Mandalorian as well, even a foundling, and he had his armor removed way longer than the Djarin ever did. I mean, just look at Episode 2, Attack the Clones.
Yeah, that's why I say this is a Children of the Watch thing because the Children of the Watch are already their own faction and stuff. And meanwhile, compared to other Mandalorians, like say like with the Death Watch and the Protectors and such, they were like their own. They were like their own different faction and stuff. Meanwhile, with the Watch, they were more cult like with their beliefs in in Mandalorian culture, and they were a lot more, as I would say, old fashioned. My personal belief, and that's from my speculation from watching Mandalorian. So yeah,
I mean, overall, I just think it's excessive, and I mean, there
yeah,
should be
I agree with that
leniency.
too.
Like if you wanted to say like yeah this isn't you definitely remove your helmet willingly so many times. Just look at how Boba Fett is doing it in this TV show.
Yeah.
I know.
Like that definitely is like yeah you're definitely breaking code even though Boba Fett doesn't give a shit.
This is the second act. So Mando moves on from the Mandalorians. So I'm guessing at this point he's in exile.
Hmm.
So he decides to not go to Mandalore, which I thought that would happen, but no, this makes more sense. He decides to go to Tatooine, and he has to go get all of his weapons off. He has to strip all of his weapons before traveling. I thought it was a funny scene, and he has a
Like
lot
Mandalorian.
of weapons.
I know. It's like Mandalorian problems.
Imagine if literally the droid said, "Oh, you also gotta remove that armor and those bracelets and everything."
Oh my god,
No.
that would be a hassle right there for them.
Yeah, that'd be something. He did keep the flamethrower. Now I think about it, so I guess he did have at least one weapon.
Yeah, because if you guys don't remember from Mandalorian season 2, his ship was destroyed, so
Hmm.
he's trying to
Yeah,
recover from it. I think he needs the credits as well in order to rack up the dough, in order to get a new ship and stuff. He gets to Tatooine, gets all of his weaponry back, and we go to the lady that helped Mando last season.
Hmm.
I thought this was a funny scene where she is like shooting at, well, the droids are being attacked by this.
It's a
I
womp
think that's
rat.
called a Womp Rat.
It's a
yeah,
womp
it's
rat.
the
Yeah.
Womp Rat.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, she's trying to find the droid who got attacked, and then she gets attacked, and she looks like she's being dragged and eaten. And then Mando comes and shoots the thing, and I thought it was a funny scene, funny little scene. He wants her to make her a new ship, wants a brand new ship, and she said, "Oh, I found her. I got a replacement for the Razor Crest," and she shows what looks like a Naboo Star Cruiser.
Starfighter.
Starfighter. Of course, right now it's in a pretty bad state and not a proper vessel for a Mandalorian. But eventually, Mando gives in and he's like, "Okay, I'll help you reassemble this shit," and to rebuild a brand new ship to replace the Razor's Crest. And it takes some time, but they eventually rebuild this whole thing. And well, I think the whole scene was a little too much.
Too
The
long.
overall design in the end, pretty cool. I
Yeah,
liked it.
I
Oh,
liked it too,
the
honestly.
design of the ship is awesome.
Yeah. So this ship is pretty fast. It's like decked out, and he ends up testing it. And it's funny because like he goes into the locations of the pod racing section of episode one.
Yeah.
So he
Mhm.
drives it like a pod racer of sorts. And it's like much faster, of course, because it's a starfighter. And then he goes up into space, he gets in trouble, and then he escapes, and this thing is fast. It's amazing. Yeah, he gets in trouble with the officers, and then he just escapes from there. He just blazes past them.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like
and it's
asking
just
him some questions, and he's like answers
Yep.
and stuff. And then when one of the pilots is like, "Hey, I kind of recognize your voice. You mind if I ask some questions?" And Mando is like, just pushes a few buttons, and the ship goes really fast, and they lose track of it.
Yep.
That was
and then
awesome.
the other guy's like, shouldn't we go after him? And it's like, do you want to fill out paperwork? And he's like, no, I'm good. Then they
uh,
just ditch. They're just like, nah, fuck it. He's too far from us. Let's just leave it be. We'll just give him a pass.
Yeah, so like if you guys didn't recognize the one other officer that was there, he was actually part of Mandalorian season 2.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
yeah, he was featured in this. So it was a nice little nod.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm surprised that Filoni didn't decide, hey, I want to be one of those two.
yeah. I was surprised he wasn't in that one too. I was almost thinking, okay, we're gonna see like Dave Filoni again, I think, but then all of a sudden it turns out to be a different guy, and I'm like, wow, that's a surprise.
Yeah, but no, and turns out, it was just one guy from season two and a new guy as well. So I just read something. So you guys know in that scene where Mando's like he wants to know where the Jawas got the cryogenic density combustion booster, and so he asked the Jawas, and Jawas say that they actually stole it from a bike spice runner that was refueling, and
Yeah, right.
Ooh.
is that is that telling me that I'm wondering, is it the same train that was in Book of Boba Fett season 2? Or no, probably somebody other because it's like 5 years later. Yeah, it's probably somebody else. But yeah, apparently a very small mention of the Pike Syndicate, which
Yeah,
Mando's gonna have to deal with in the next episode.
yeah. If that comes up in the next episode, I'm gonna be surprised.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the next episode, so the Django, how did this end?
So he lands back to Mos Eisley, and Fennec Shand greets Mando and gives credit for Muscle for the big fight. Mando decides to refuse the money when he seems kind of desperate, I would think, for cash. But he does this as a favor for Boba because he helped him out, so he helps him too. So Mando says he first must pay a visit to someone first, meaning Grogu. So he can't let Grogu go, and then he'll join Boba, I guess.
And that's where it ends. So, guys, what do we think of the episode? Who goes first?
I thought this episode was pretty wizard. Sorry, I had to make that reference.
Mm,
Yes.
But yeah, this was like a really good. I thought this episode was like really good. It was actually quite a surprise too, because of the fact that it isn't really Boba Fett centered, and this really felt more like a felt more like a prologue for Mandalorian season 3, honestly.
yeah.
And it's like, and I'm just going, wait, is this the same episode? Because
Yeah.
it's like this ain't because where's Boba Fett at? Yeah, I mean, like I obviously figured like, okay, Din Djarin's gonna appear in this episode because they played a bit of his theme in
Episode 4.
the end of the last episode, but I was not expecting this episode to be fully just about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yeah, so my only big issue with this episode is that this really feels like a Mandalorian season 3 episode 1 instead of Book of Boba Fett episode 5. It's almost
Yeah,
like it's almost like you can actually remove the portions that involve Fennec Shand and Boba Fett, and you can literally just call this Mandalorian season 3 episode 1. Like literally just it like this did not feel like Book of Boba Fett, and the episode itself is great. It's fantastic. I can't really think of any issues, but the only issue it has is that it's probably in the wrong TV show. Not gonna lie, that's probably how it
I'd agree with
feels.
that.
Like, yeah, what do you think, the Django?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought this was a good filler episode for
Yeah,
Mando because, I mean, I thought it was going to be like 10, 15 minutes Mando, then Boba. But no, this was a good prelude to Mando season 3.
Mhm.
And this is all Mando. And it just goes to show you that despite everything that's been happening with Book of Boba Fett, the fact that they go back to Mando and it just shows how good the Mandalorian TV show is compared to Book of Boba Fett. Because it's like you miss his character that much and you just don't even want to see Boba Fett at this point. I mean, personally, me and CJ, this is how we feel. We're just like we just want the show to be over with at this point because we want Mando at this point.
Speaking of that, did you guys feel like Din Djarin, Mandalorian, felt way more like Boba Fett than Boba Fett himself is in this
Yes.
TV show?
In a sense, yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, this is a criticism I have with this that I have with the Book of Boba Fett is that they really kind of downgrade him, and they really,
Yeah.
I feel like they really shouldn't just play him down, tone down on Boba Fett as much. Just let him go all out, you know. And
Agreed. Yeah.
I'm hoping we see that in later episodes. Like he just goes all out ham on all these enemies that he'll come across and stuff. You know, I'm really just hoping for that because this episode really shows what Boba Fett should be. You know.
We did actually get Boba Fett in Mando season 2, if you remember when he first got his armor
Yeah,
from Din
exactly.
Djarin.
Yeah, that's
And
what I was hoping to see in Book of Boba Fett. Not gonna lie.
yeah, we all expected that. We only kind of got it in the flashbacks, but in the present time, it's like what happened to you? Oh, and episode 3 was the worst offender of Boba Fett's
Mm.
downgrade. Oh, but
Yeah, it was pretty. It was a pretty bad episode. I pretty much would agree with anyone who, would say like that this was a filler episode. I'd agree with them on that, as this was literally a filler episode.
yeah, episode 3 was
Still
Or
good
three
regardless.
was at least.
Episode 5, Book of Boba Fett is good. It just
Yeah.
it just doesn't belong in this TV show.
Agreed.
And like going on to this as well, it's like it's called Book of Boba Fett for a reason. I mean, like because it's like it's Boba Fett, of course, but it's like this is it. This is a limited series. It's primarily supposed to be Boba Fett, but the
Uh-huh.
problem is, it's like you have Mando appearing, and it's great, fantastic. One episode, it's still a lot just to feature just Mando himself, and like Mando going to be in 3 seasons at this point.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're limiting Boba to just like what? I mean, this is supposed to be 7 episodes, now down to 6. I'm,
Yes.
I mean, that's ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
get that he's like a crime lord and all, and crime lords do a lot more talking and stuff. But I really think that he should do a lot more fighting too. Honestly, you know.
Yeah.
No, but here's the thing. Like this episode 5, like there is not a single scene or portion involving Boba Fett aside from the very end with Fennec Shan, like and the recap at the very beginning. Like they could have had at least maybe one scene of Boba talking with Fennec or something, or hell, it could have been them seeing the Naboo starfighter roaming through the Beggar's Canyon or something. Like literally,
Yeah.
it felt like like Boba Fett didn't even exist. Like in this entire this was literally Mando season 3 episode 1. That's literally what it is. Like this is Mando season 3 episode 1, the real one, or episode 0 if you want to call it. I guess. Because seriously, this really felt like Mando season 3 episode 0. I call episode 0.
I don't disagree with you on that because it's
I
like this follows up the Avengers right after season 2, so
yeah.
I mean this is it. Yeah, of course.
Episode 6 and 7 better truly deliver because they're the last 2 episodes and they're the last chance, to be honest, for Book of Boba Fett to at least end on a good note, because starting a good note, in the middle it faltered, and in the end it better go high on a good note again. Really has to, because if it doesn't, then it will be indisputable. Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 would just be considered the better shows to watch a fully bounty hunter Mandalorian.
I'm not gonna lie, Book of Boba Fett would be pretty disappointing if it doesn't pick itself up a bit. You know.
Yeah, let's do predictions right now. So
Okay.
like, okay, let me do my prediction real quick.
All right.
So I have a feeling that the season, like the finale, we'll actually have the actual action and the run, like the actual action that we've been waiting for Boba Fett.
Mm.
Though
Yeah.
it's going to be very subdued because I
Mm.
feel like Mando is going to steal the spotlight more. And the next episode will be a filler episode. It's setting up for the fight.
So you think that episode is gonna be another decent episode and not really a very good one?
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a bit sick of having to here's this episode that's setting up stuff and then the final one is gonna like pay off only to and maybe not pay off as much I really got like episode 3 really felt like that because episode 4 was the one that actually I was waiting for since finishing watching episode 2, and 3 just wasted my time. 4 actually gave me what I wanted, and 5, well, it gave me something I wanted but didn't expect to be in here, so I don't know about that. And 6, well, I do want to see, well, definitely getting ready for the Pike Syndicate stuff and everything. I don't know how they're gonna depict an entire, I guess, war against the Pike Syndicate in just 2 episodes, unless they're like 50-minute episodes each. Like, how do you guys think they'll do it? Like the big war? Because I don't know how they'll do it. Like run times, how do you guys think it will be for those 2 episodes?
I think I kind of agree with Django's theory, except probably like with like the next episode being another filler. But who know? But who knows on that part, honestly.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would love to be wrong. Like, I want action for the next 2 episodes, but I just have a feeling like the next episode will be filler, and then the last episode will actually have the action that we've been wanting.
I'm curious. Have they revealed who's directing the next 2 episodes, or that's still a mystery?
Don't know as of yet.
yeah, I don't know either.
Okay, so directors so far have been supposedly Dave Filoni is one director, but we actually have not seen him direct any episodes. Could he
Really?
be the next director? Uh,
Who knows?
we'll see. Robert Rodriguez, we already had 2 of them. One was
No more, please.
yeah, yeah. Episode 1 was good. Episode 3 was just oh god, yeah, no more.
Yeah, that was definitely like the other half of Rodriguez's work. Like episode 1 was like Rodriguez's good work, and episode 3 was like what he
Spy
does
Kids.
with like Spy Kids. Yeah, it was Spy Kids level.
It was Spy Kids. If you guys just look at if you saw our podcast on episode 3, just looking at the images that's in that video, you can clearly see the comparison between the Spy Kids 3 race with the speeder chase in Book of Boba Fett.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my, like it's
I
so
never even thought of that.
they are so
Man, you guys,
similar.
I'm just saying, you guys are thinking outside of the box when it comes to that stuff. Everybody's saying Power Rangers, but you guys
I was
are
saying that
saying
too.
Spy
The
Kids.
Django said Power Rangers, but I knew it was Spy Kids 3 because I did watch Spy Kids a lot when I was younger,
Yeah,
and Spy Kids 3 in particular.
nice.
So,
Same.
but yeah, it was Spy Kids 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Robert
Yeah.
Rodriguez. Bryce Dallas Howard, we already saw her episode, and clearly it was an episode that maybe should change the name of the show for it. But yeah, Kevin Toncharoen, if I'm not mistaken, he's the one that made episode 4. Yep.
Yep.
And Steph Green made episode 2. Okay, so they've done 1 episode each for those 2, and Bryce Dallas Howard did episode 5. Dave Filoni is probably going to be one of those 2. It just has to be. There's no way in hell that Dave Filoni is not going to do one. Like, he's credited as a director, but for some reason he has yet to do like any sort of episode. So I think he's going to be one of the 2 directors for the next 2 episodes. So there's that. As for the other director, okay, we already say we don't want Robert Rodriguez, but what if it is him again?
We'll see.
Okay. If it's not him, who do you guys want it to be the director?
I don't know. For me, it's up in the air of who I would want, honestly.
Well, we'll have to see. As for me, well, if we get Bryce Dallas Howard again, then we'll have to see some Mandalorian stuff. I don't know. We'll have to see. Steph Green or Kevin Toncharoen, I didn't mind how they made the episodes. I actually think they did good job, and there are gonna be no more flashbacks as far as we know, because the back to thing droid in episode 4 said that he was completely healed, so no more flashbacks at this point. So that's definitely out of the window. I
We'll see.
still don't know why Fett I mean, we kind of have a reason why he wants to be a crime lord, but I'm still like wondering how did he change so much of character? Um, I don't know. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, honestly don't know on that one, really. Maybe it's just probably because he. This is probably just, and this is just my assumption. It's probably just because he just wants to try something different, probably. And then it's probably also because he kind of literally fell from grace into the Sarlacc pit. If,
I could
I
understand
don't know.
him no longer wanting to be a bounty hunter, but why a crime lord? That's what I'm curious. Like, and because I still don't understand why. I mean, in some way, I could see that he wants to maybe make a kind of clan of sorts similar to the Tuscan Raider tribe, because he was with them for years. But I'm still wondering why specifically a crime lord. Like, that's still something that I don't think we've gotten an answer yet. Have we, the Django? Because I think we haven't.
No, it's not clear. I just have a feeling that it might be featured heavily in the next episode and the season finale. Because like I feel like there's one flashback that has been brought up, but not many people have mentioned it, is the Camino flashback. And I have a
Oh,
feeling they're probably going to revisit that because of like the trauma with his dad. That's still like it's still messing him up or something. So
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's really weighing him down, and I feel like that's going to be playing back again in next couple episodes. So overall, I thought this was a good episode. If it was Mandalorian, of course, but it was still really entertaining. You see some more Mandalorian lore. You know, Mando's new ship design, which is fantastic. I love the fight in the beginning. It's just the problem is that this is Book of Boba Fett, and it's a limited series, and it should be focused on the perspective of Boba Fett. And I get it that Mando is kind of like the selling thing right now, and he feels more like Boba Fett at this point. And I do wish Boba Fett was like him
Yeah.
at this point. I just have a feeling that even Mandalorian season 3 will not even show one episode solely on the perspective of Boba Fett, because I mean, they had never indicated from Mandalorian season 2 that they really did that. I know he has his big appearance, epic appearance, but that's really it. I just have a feeling that it's not going to be as strong as how this episode is to Mandalorian season 3, where Boba Fett appears or something. I just don't see that coming. Probably the best of Book of Boba Fett so far, and he's not even in it.
that's the irony.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my
Yeah.
thoughts, I pretty much echo what the Django said. Like, it's a great episode if it was Mandal season 3. I'm just gonna dub it Mandalorian season 3 episode 0. Seriously, I'm just gonna dub it like that. I mean, if some Star Wars comics before have had issue 0, then I'm just gonna say this is episode 0 of Mandal season 3.
I'd second that.
So yeah, I'm just gonna be doing that. Yeah, great episode, awesome. So yeah, we'll have to see how Book of Boba Fett goes. I hope it ends on a high note and not on a whimper.
Let's see. Well, in my conclusion, I'm pretty much just going to be echoing off of you two guys, so I'm just adding on to the echo and stuff. Yeah, this was a really great episode. I A little odd that it feels more like like a episode for Mandalorian season 3 than an episode of Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, in other words, looking forward to the next episode and wondering what they're going to come up with next.
So that is our discussion on episode 5. Next week we'll be back to do an episode 6 discussion. Really appreciate you guys watching till the very end or listening to the very end. We'll see you on the next episode discussion. Take care.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.